It has been only weeks since my wife ended her life. We were married for such a short time, and now she is gone. Every day I ask myself what I did wrong, why I could not protect her. I feel crushed by guilt and emptiness. I have tried doctors, medicine, and talking with others, but nothing reaches this pain. I no longer see meaning in living, and yet some part of me still searches for help. I don't know if anything you say can ease this, but I want to believe there is a way not to drown. Please show me how to endure this darkness.
Today we're looking at a letter. It's deeply personal, very raw. We need to approach this carefully, really listen to what's being said about profound pain and loss. The letter lays out some stark facts right away. The tragedy happened only weeks ago, and the marriage itself was quite short.
Yes, those details are crucial. Our aim here is to try and understand the immediate experience described in the letter, to see how someone searches for endurance when they feel, as the writer puts it, crushed by guilt and emptiness.
Okay, let's talk about that weight. The letter really zeroes in on these agonizing questions: what did I do wrong? And even more specific, why I could not protect her.
Right. It's an immediate turn inward, isn't it? This search for accountability.
Yeah, like an interrogation.
And that feeling, crushed by guilt and emptiness, given it's only weeks since the event, that intensity is, well, understandable, but staggering. We're seeing someone grapple with this immense sense of failure, specifically about protection. That's a really heavy burden.
So unpacking that a bit, asking what did I do wrong or why couldn't I protect her? Is that common in this kind of immediate aftermath?
It's very common, actually. When something devastating and uncontrollable happens, the mind often scrambles to find something controllable, and often that something becomes the self.
Ah, okay.
Almost like a post-traumatic need for accountability. The writer isn't just grieving the loss itself, but also what they perceive as a failure in their role, maybe their most fundamental role in that relationship, protection.
So focusing on that failure, it's almost a way to make sense of the senseless. Like if I failed, then it wasn't just random chaos.
Exactly. It imposes a kind of terrible logic onto it. If it was preventable, even through one's own supposed failing, then maybe it wasn't just arbitrary. But of course, that's an incredibly painful burden to carry, especially so soon.
It must create this like inescapable cycle in their head.
It really can. This deep sense of having failed to shield their partner can become the absolute center of the pain, sometimes even overshadowing the grief itself initially. Acute guilt like this can act as a sort of cognitive block.
A block? How so?
It prevents, or at least hinders, the acceptance of the randomness, the sheer scope of the tragedy. It's an agonizing way, to almost keep the lost person close by carrying their fate as your own responsibility.
And the emptiness, that follows the guilt, right? It's not just sadness, it's the void where a whole future was supposed to be.
Precisely. The guilt looks backward, trying to pinpoint the mistake. The emptiness looks forward, into that space where the shared life was expected, experiencing both so intensely at the same time, especially in this acute phase. Well, that's what leads to that feeling of being crushed.
Right. And we have to stress, the writer isn't just sitting with this feeling. They've been actively trying to fight it. They explicitly say they've tried doctors, medicine, and talking with others.
And that's incredibly important. It shows proactivity despite the immense pain. They've reached out to the usual places for help: medical, pharmaceutical, social networks.
But then comes that devastating statement,
Yeah.
nothing reaches this pain.
Yes. That tells us something profound about the nature of this suffering. When someone actively seeks conventional support structures and finds they offer no relief, it suggests we're dealing with a type of pain perhaps distinct from, say, clinical depression alone.
How is it distinct? I mean, they sought medical help. Why wouldn't that reach it?
Well, if we think about it through the lens of acute trauma, early medical interventions often target, neurochemical imbalances, things like antidepressants.
Okay.
But this pain seems driven less by a baseline imbalance and more by a massive, sudden psychological wound, a wound to their whole sense of meaning, their worldview.
Right, the foundations are shattered.
Exactly. And talk therapy, while vital long-term, might struggle initially when the trauma is this fresh. The entire system, cognitive, emotional, is just overwhelmed. So when the writer says, nothing reaches the pain, it implies the pain is currently operating outside the sphere those conventional tools are designed for.
That's a really important distinction. It's not necessarily an illness in the typical sense, but devastation. Acute trauma, grief that's resistant because the damage is so fundamental, so recent.
Yes, the remedies they tried are often designed for illness. They're grappling with utter devastation. And the fact that these external attempts haven't worked forces the writer inward. And that's where this really interesting internal conflict starts to show itself.
The paradox. Yeah, let's get into that because it's striking. On one side, you have the statement of complete despair. I no longer see meaning in living.
That's the rational mind surveying the wreckage, isn't it? The loss is just void of the future they understood. It's a logical conclusion from a devastated perspective.
Totally logical, tragically so. But then immediately after that comes. And yet some part of me still searches for help.
And that is fascinating. It's the core paradox.
Yeah.
The analytical mind says, it's over. There's no point.
Right.
But some other part, something deeper, just keeps looking, keeps asking for a lifeline.
It's like cognitive dissonance on a profound level. Reason says stop, but something else keeps pushing.
Precisely. You could almost call it a primal survival instinct.
Yeah.
The rational mind needs reasons, needs meaning to justify going on. But maybe the body, the spirit, that core life drives, doesn't always need a reason. It just persists. It keeps asking, how do I get through this? The very act of asking that question, despite rationally concluding that meaning is gone, that's the most powerful sign of tenacity there is.
So search for help isn't fueled by hope, necessarily. Not by a belief things will get better.
Not necessarily, no. It might be driven simply by an internal engine that hasn't shut down, even if the conscious mind feels like it has given up. It's like the organism itself refuses to quit.
Wow. That changes how you see that search. It's not about finding meaning right now, maybe.
Perhaps not. Perhaps it's about finding function first. Finding, as the writer says so powerfully, a way not to drown. That becomes the immediate goal.
Which leads directly to the core request in the letter, the real plea. Please show me how to endure this darkness. It's not asking for the darkness to lift, is it?
No, exactly. It's a request for stability within the darkness, for a practical way to survive it. It accepts the current reality, total darkness, and asks for navigation tools.
And it's grounded in such honesty. They admit their doubt. I don't know if anything you say can ease this. That skepticism feels so real.
It does. It makes the next part even more powerful. But I want to believe there is a way not to drown.
That flicker of wanting to believe.
Right. That tension between profound skepticism, born of the failure of previous attempts, and that innate human desire for a path forward, that's the tightrope walk of this kind of acute grief.
Yeah.
So the way forward has to start by acknowledging both things are true, doesn't it? The pain, the guilt, the emptiness, they're absolutely real and valid.
Okay.
And at the same time, that persistent inner voice asking, show me how, even faintly, is also real and valid. Endurance perhaps begins not by trying to switch off the darkness, but by listening intently to that part of the self that still reaches out, even while doubting anyone can possibly reach back.
So we've traced this landscape, the crushing guilt, the incredibly short time frame amplifying everything, and this core conflict between losing meaning and yet somehow still searching. It's just a portrait of raw survival effort.
It really is. And reflecting on everything in today's letter, perhaps it leaves you with this question to consider. What does it tell us about the human spirit? That even when someone is utterly convinced that nothing reaches this pain, convinced that meaning is gone, some fundamental part still finds the capacity to ask, how do I endure? Maybe the structure of survival isn't always found in the answer, but in the stubborn, undeniable persistence of the question itself.